Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming in a new First Impressions video. Today we're taking a look at the newly released Dragon Quest treasures from Square Enix on the Nintendo Switch. We have in this a new action RPG spin-off from the well-known Dragon Quest series with a treasure hunting focus. Fortunately for us, we've actually had access slightly early, allowing for a nice hands-on experience with the game, and so here are my first impressions. With that, I want to say thank you to Square Enix for that opportunity and to let you guys know that this video is indeed sponsored by Square. They've just asked us to check out the game and make a video about the experience how we want, which is exactly what we hope for in sponsored content. On that note, if you want to check out the game for yourself, then be sure to use our link in the description of the video so they know we sent you, which will really help us out. Now, without any further ado, let's begin the first impressions look. We'll begin with context of the world and story. Dragon Quest Treasures is a spin-off set prior to the events of Dragon Quest XI, following the tale of two orphans, Eric and Maya, who live on a Viking longship working to find a place in the world. Both are obsessed with the idea of adventure and more importantly treasure though, so the two sneak out of their room on the ship only to encounter some otherworldly creatures. These ghostly floating animals, Porcus and Persula, lead the pair to a mysterious ruin, and that's where they find a pair of dragon daggers, and then they're led away to Draconia, a world of floating islands, which turns out to be ancient dragon bodies that have hardened over time and become populated islands in the sky. Here, a land full of monsters and countless treasure awaits, and it's our task to make it big using this opportunity. The problem here is that we're far from the only treasure-hungry adventurers out there. There are rivals that are willing to take treasure from you. We'll attempt to find treasure and bring it back to our base and increase the vault value, building up our home and our brigade of friendly monsters who work with us. Although our main objective is definitely to find the 7 legendary dragon stones that are out there somewhere. But with that context out of the way, how does the game actually work and play? Now obviously treasure is a major aspect of this game. It ties into your currency, your progression, the hub, and the main story is finding 7 specific treasures. Those 7 treasures are revealed fairly early on. Each have their own riddle which suggests where they are in the world itself, say within a dragon's eye or at the end of an icy tale and that kind of thing. That leads you on the main adventure, but what about finding actual treasure? We have these 2 main mechanics to do so. You have your fortune finder, which is this compass you pull up and follow, leading you the right way and also serving as a sort of hot and cold meter. Then we have treasure visions, which are these memories of where the treasure is actually located based on your team. Your team each have a memory of the location of that treasure, 3 images of its location, which gives you hopefully enough context to work out where it is. And when you work it out, you dig it up out the ground and then you'll need to appraise it. You see, you don't know what you've actually got and how much it's worth and so on until you head back to the hub and have it appraised. So the more you explore, the more treasure you get, the more value you have potentially, but you have to make it back. Your rivals in the world will want that treasure from you though, and the monsters in your way are also not going to let you pass without trying to stop you. You'll need to make it back to a working train station to make it out of there, or use some valuable items you don't want to use all the time. Interestingly, your team can also affect the chance of you finding treasure, based on their history with the region you're currently in. So logically, monsters tied to that region have higher odds of locating treasure within it. So there's a few things going on here in regards to treasure and finding it. I think it's a good system for treasure hunting. But what about combat? When facing monsters and otherwise, you'll need to win the battles to escape and level up your team. We use a party system you might be familiar with, but this is a simplified concept in which the team auto fights while you manage just your character. Using real-time combat then, you can get in there with your dagger attacks and basic combos, using evades to avoid the damage, or pull out your slingshot to fight at ranged. A slingshot uses pellets, which can come in many different types. Monsters all have different types of weaknesses, so it's always a great idea to swap to pellet types that are more effective. But there's also supportive pellets as well, like healing or buffing ones through teammates as a sort of way to manage your team. Each monster will fight using different moves and styles, so having a suitable setup for a team for combat is a worthy consideration. As we fight, we also build gauge, and eventually you unlock special moves for your monsters, leading to even more damage potential. In the world, there's not exactly random encounters, there's just enemies that you can see, and you can physically choose to avoid them or run straight past them. That also means you can physically sneak up on them for extra effect, or let your team fight while you just gather some loot on the side. Occasionally though, through the story, you will bump into some strong boss type enemies with much bigger health pools and various attacks to deal with, challenging you to make the best of your current options. But what are the monsters I'm talking about? Well, they are familiar creatures that are found in the world of Dragon Quest, who in this game can be both enemies and allies. Allied monsters can be used in various ways. In your party as you explore, explore, you can level them up and progress them, boost them further with medals to make them stronger, or make use of their special abilities, which could say have you bounce off thrown up into the air, or glide through the sky, over the terrain, sprinting much faster to get around, scanning the area to help you spot specific materials, or sneaking or squeezing into otherwise unreachable locations. It's a nice variety of both monster design and purpose, and we gain new monster allies through fighting, and then recruiting them later at the hub. We also find different types of monsters based on the areas we're actually in, so exploration is also rewarded in that way. Now, I've mentioned it a few times. There's the home base, the hub. Before long, you make it there and set up your home base on Egg Island, which is at the center of the world. Within that hub, you'll have access to various features to reward your progress or help you take on the world. Some of the main features here are your vault, the recruitment, and team management. At the vault, that's where you appraise what you've just found and weigh up its value. The more treasure you have, the more value you have, the more benefits. And early on, that leads to things like faster cooldowns on your team's abilities. Within the vault yourself, you can also physically choose where the treasure is on display and organize it how you want, or look at the lore of the items, like extra details of which game this item was first seen in. Also very important here is the monster recruitment, where we can accept or ignore current monsters that are trying to join the team. New monsters means new options, such as our first mission is to find an orc to help clean up the base. However, each recruit will require a different fee to get them to join, encouraging your exploration to gather specific materials while you're out in the world. Further, you can unlock dispatch missions to make use of many monsters, not just the current in our 4-person party. That lets you send them out on multiple missions for extra rewards, led by the main character that's not currently being played. Later on, you'll also unlock a shop to buy and sell certain goods. There's a pellet vendor to get specific types of ammo to benefit in your combat, a cafeteria to make specific meals that gives you various stat-based perks. So the base serves as a place to return to weigh up your last adventure's loot and progress it with new perks and have an easier time when you're out in the world. Speaking of adventures though, how does the world work? As I mentioned, we have a hub that's the center of the world, and around that are various islands, each of which have their own themes and weather to contend with, their own unique materials, monsters, and challenges. These are huge regions to explore in your own way and pace, because you can go there when you want and you can climb most anything, even using the monster abilities to traverse around it better. You'll hunt for treasure using the treasure hunting mechanics, fight monsters to level up or recruit new ones, gather materials to do so, and work on the main or side quests in each place. The regions have lots of secret areas that require clever movement, climbing, or specific monster abilities. There's wind tunnels that help speed you around, and that genuine freedom to explore, because you can just go to areas way sooner than you might otherwise should and end up fighting monsters way over your current level. But what about those quests? I found 4 main types in my first hours of play. There's main quests, which is all tied to ultimately finding the 7 main dragon treasures. Railway quests, which is restoring each of the stations at each island, of which there are multiple on each island, but doing so unlocks new fast travel options, so it's well worth. Adventure quests, which are like the side quests that work with the main characters you meet in the story and help them with whatever they're dealing with at that time. Then lastly, you have daily quests, which can be found at the notice board in the hub after a certain point. Basically, there's a lot you can choose to work on, story-wise or hub progression or side stuff. Lots of options, lots to challenge you. So, I think that's more than enough to conclude my first impressions of Dragon Quest Treasures. I found it a very relaxed and fun, exploration-focused game with a really cool world. I'm glad that there's a focus on exploration and treasure in a game that's meant to be about that. Letting you have the freedom to explore at your own pace is always good in a world like this. Even if that does mean you can go to places where you're a bit under-leveled, but that doesn't mean you can't win in those situations. I had plenty of times where I was using pellets that the enemy was weak to, even though they were over 10 levels higher than me. Things in general become more in-depth and varied as you unlock new mechanics and progress the story, and it's at a nice pace where it's never that overwhelming. And with all those options on what to focus on next, what to work on, lots of progression, it's a clear focus of the game. All set in a nice world. Those giant dragon bodies you're just running around on. Lots of different biomes and themes. Overall, I think Dragon Quest Treasures achieves what it sets out to be, a light-hearted adventure game with lots of treasure to find. So once again, if you are interested in the game, be sure to use our link in the description of the video so they know we sent you. And thank you again to Square Enix for sponsoring the video. For now then, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.